Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are South.
Back home and smoking hot. The Braves return to Turner Field not only after a 6-0 road trip, but riding the Major's longest winning streak this year at 13 consecutive games. They open up a 9-game homestand against the Marlins, the Phillies, and the Washington Nationals starting tonight. It's great to be back in Atlanta, and let's stay hot as the Braves go for their 14th straight win next. It is great to be back home in Atlanta, where the winning streak lives on. We are at Turner Field. A big crowd is filing in as the Atlanta Braves try to run their win streak to 14 games as they face the Miami Marlins in the first game of a weekend series. Hi again, friends. Chip and Joe back with you. What a road trip for Atlanta. What a past couple of weeks it's been for the Braves, who have made roughshod the Eastern Division race. And as you look inside the numbers in this winning streak, Joe, the Braves really have made a mockery of Eastern Division play.
I think everybody knows that the averages have been up, the ERAs have been down, the Braves are hitting a lot of big home runs, but we thought we'd put together some numbers that also have contributed to this winning streak that maybe aren't quite so obvious. During the streak, the run differential, the Braves have outscored their opponents by 46 runs. They're tearing it up, hitting with runners in scoring position. They've only allowed one unearned run. That tells you the defense has been very good, and it seems like every time the opponent makes a mistake, the Braves capitalize and score an unearned run. But the run differential from the 7th inning on maybe as telltale as anything, with a plus 16 in that category. 4 close wins by 1 run. The Braves have added 7.5 games to their lead. All good signs. Hopefully it'll continue here at home.
Quite simply, we love it. Hope you are at home as well, as the Braves and Marlins meet in Game 1. Brandon Beachy will take the ball for the Braves. Should be a beautiful night for baseball. It's hot, it's muggy, and the Braves are roasting too. We'll get you set for tonight's series opener when we come back to Turner Field in a second. Home Reds tonight. And a big crowd is on its feet as Atlanta goes for its 14th consecutive victory tonight, game 1 against the Miami Marlins. And all the talk of what Atlanta has done offensively, Joe, let's not forget the starting pitching's been good too, and that's the task assigned Brandon Beachy tonight.
What's that camera guy doing on the field? Get off the field! Got a pitcher trying to warm up here. Brandon Beachy looking for his first win of the year. 5 career starts against the Marlins. He's 2-0 with a 2.94 ERA. Great work against the Fish, a 2.15 career average against him. And maybe one of his best major league starts came against them last May. His first ever complete game effort, and it was a 9-inning, 5-hit shutout. Did not walk a batter and struck out 6. So he'd certainly want to duplicate that. Nobody's expecting him to go 9 tonight, but he'd like to have maybe a little longer outing than he's had in his first couple of outings. He's pitched a total of 10 innings in his first 2 starts of the year. His 4 keys to pitching success tonight: maybe a little bit better feel for his pitches and feel the ball coming out of his hand a little better than he did in his first 2 starts, and less effort. I think especially in his first start, Chip, it was obvious that he was really maxing out, trying to throw the ball as hard as he could. It wasn't coming out like he wanted it to, and kept trying to throw it harder. So better feel, less effort tonight, and I think he'll have good results.
There's no such thing as an easy game pitched in the major leagues. However, when you look at the Marlins' offensive numbers, Joe, this is not a good offensive team. They're dead last in just about every offensive category, but they do have a new look about them. As 2 rookies, Christian Yelich and Jake Marisnick, are in the outfield for Mike Redmond. Giancarlo Stanton, as you know, is their superstar right fielder, with Logan Morrison cleaning up. Then Lucas Solano Echeverria, the shortstop, Jeff Mathis, the catcher, and Jacob Turner, the pitcher. So this is a new look Miami ball club that frankly has played real good baseball over the last 2 months, despite a 43-70 record this year.
Well, when it was obvious their record was going to be what it was, they decided in late July to call up Christian Yelich and Jake Marisnick just to see what they could do. They were putting up good numbers in Double-A, and so far, especially for Yelich, he's swinging the bat real well.
Indeed he is. An 8-game hitting streak with 14 hits in those 8 games played. Beachy's first pitch of the night is a called strike. Mike Estabrook has the plate for game 1. Warm night, 88 degrees at Turner Field tonight. And a line drive into left center field will get down in front of Upton. So Yelich doesn't waste any time. He singles to extend his batting streak to 9 consecutive games. Here's the Braves defense. Upton, and Hayward left to right in the outfield. Johnson, Simmons, Ugla, and Freeman around the horn. Brian McCann back behind the plate. Again, the incredible stat Joe mentioned a moment ago. Only 1 unearned run allowed by the Braves during their win streak. So Yelich at first. Jake Marisnick stands in. Well, they're sure grown big in the Marlins farm system, don't they?
Yeah, Yelich is 6'4", 200 pounds, and he is only 21 years old, won't be 22 until December.
He's got a good lead at first. Speed pitch has Marisnick behind in the count 0-2.
Marisnick's 22 years old, 6'3", 225. He's out of Tampa, Florida.
Marlins are coming off a 3-game sweep at the hands of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Marlins scored first in all 3 of those games before the Pirates came roaring back. They won 2 of those games in walk-off fashion up at PNC Park. Braves were hoping for a little help from Miami, for Atlanta's neck and neck with the Pirates for the race for the best record in the National League and home field advantage up until the World Series in National League postseason play. Missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Talking to Brandon Beachy in Washington, he said his arm felt best when he's pitching, when he's throwing.
Runner goes, good jump and a line drive caught by Simmons, and that'll be a double play. 2 outs.
Braves have played so well at home, no reason to think that things aren't going to continue with respect to this streak and the defense the Braves have played. You just said, Chip, that they've only allowed 1 unearned run during the streak. And Yelich had second base swiped easily. Nice play by Anderson to turn it into a double play.
So Beachy back to the windup for Giancarlo Stanton, the Miami right fielder. And he jumps on the first pitch and skies it to left. Upton comes in, has plenty of room, and that will retire the side. 8 pitches by Brandon Beachy in the opening inning. He's off to a good start. The Braves bats go to work against Jacob Turner next. An astounding 38-15 here at Turner Field, and 70-45 overall. They'll take aim at Jacob Turner with this Toyota starting 9. It's not going to be changed for Freddie Gonzalez, not with the production this group has put together. Hayward and Upton have been dynamic in the 1 and 2 spots. Freeman, McCann, and Johnson all swinging hot bats, with Uglin then at the 6th position in the batting order. BJ 7th, Andrelton Simmons 8th, and Brandon Beachy pitches in his 9th.
Jacob Turner on the mound, 22 years old, 6'5", 215 out of St. Charles, Missouri. Came from Detroit in the trade for Anibal Sanchez. He was a former first-round pick by Detroit back in '09. Good work at home. On the road, not so much on the road. He's 0-3 and 0-6 in his career on the road, which leads us to his 4 keys. Number 1, this guy's got a good curveball. He throws in the mid-90s, but he's got a real good curve. But we usually talk about guys being good on the road, being road warriors. Not so much here.
Jason Hayward greets him first and bounces one foul toward the Braves dugout. Strike 1. How about the work Jason Hayward has turned in the leadoff spot for the Braves? 14 hits in 11 games batting first, and Joe, he scored 16 runs in that stretch.
That's the mark. Your leadoff man, you always are hoping for a high on base percentage, because if he's getting on base, there's a good chance somebody might knock him in. And the ultimate number for a leadoff man is runs scored. He's doing that.
And because the bottom of the order has been so good, he's getting his share of RBIs as well. As the first breaking ball missed inside to Jason, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Turner pitched a good game against Atlanta down in Miami last trip down there. He won 3-1. 7 innings, 4 hits, just 2 runs allowed.
Good fastball takes care of Jason Hayward. Well located. 1 up, 1 down in the home half of the first inning. Marlins also getting good defense. That's really helped their young pitching staff. You see on our Home Depot tools from the dugout, they've committed just 7 errors. That's the fewest in the National League. And imagine, Joe, that outfield combo in left and center hasn't hurt him either.
Yeah, it's a shame that they lost their center fielder Osuna. Looks like they lost him for the rest of the year with a thumb injury. But Giancarlo Stanton, 8 errors in right field. That's a lot.
A lot too when you factor in how many games he's missed. So he hasn't been able to stay in the lineup an awful lot. This is only his 72nd game. Nothing in 2.
Justin's really hot. He's hit in 12 straight games. He's raised his average up over 270 again. Staying back, waiting, seeing the ball, letting it travel a little longer. And he's hit well against the fish this year, over 350.
Two and 2 now for Justin Upton.
That was a slider from Turner. He'll throw that too, along with a changeup, but his out pitch is his curveball and his fastball that we've already seen him work away to Hayward that worked for the strikeout.
Fly ball, well hit deep left. Track wall, 1-0.
That man is making up for some lost time in the middle of the year. We're talking about a great April and now a great August, months that begin in A. And you said, what about October?
October. Holy smokes. 6 home runs since the 1st of August for Justin Upton. And only the 4th allowed by Turner all year. And now a base hit by Freddie Freeman. And folks, here we go again. Back-to-back hits with 1 out. The Braves first, the long ball.
Like a slider. No, maybe not. Might have been fastball. Fastball up and in that he turned on. Yeah. But again, staying back and waiting. He has been outstanding. 13 straight now.
Now Brian McCann bats. Hits one up the middle. Echeverria can't get it. It had funny spin. Throw back to second. Close and safely in is Freeman. A cue shot turns into gold for Brian McCann.
They weren't going to get a double play because there was nobody at second base. But you've just been talking about their solid defense lately. This one just must have had such great spin on it that it fooled Echeverria. And then Freddie thought maybe he could make it to third, lucky to get back to second. That thing was just spinning like a cue ball and he couldn't corral it. It's an E6.
The 9th for the young Marlins shortstop, Aini Echeverria. Well, you mentioned the Braves are cashing in every mistake made by the opposition. Here's a chance for the league's leading hitter, Chris Johnson. 1 ball, no strikes. We've talked all year about the Braves' record when they score first and they hit a homer. Well, Justin Upton took care of that in 1 play. And now Johnson strokes one deep left center field. That ball's got a chance. That ball's out of here.
To a man, the Braves will tell you that that off day really came at a good time. Nobody likes to take an off day when you're hot and you're winning, but everybody needed it. I asked Chris Johnson before the game, did you just take it easy? And he said, absolutely. I tried to stay in bed as much as I could yesterday and sleep late and rest my body. And he, before the fans even have settled into their seats, he and Justin Upton have made it 4-0.
And 2 home runs against a man that has kept the ball in the ballpark all year.
Yeah, he had coming in, with respect to his, since he came into the big leagues, his 12 starts, second fewest home runs allowed by a starter in the majors, behind his teammate Jose Fernandez, who's only allowed 2.
And that pitch up and in hit Dan Uggla. And Uggla takes a look at Jacob Turner. And the home plate umpire, Mike Estabrook, escorts Dan down the first base line.
That's pretty obvious on that one, folks. And there is a warning. And unfortunately, that applies to Brandon Beachy, too. Tell you, Dan gets hit a lot, and he typically takes his stroll down to first base without any conversation at all. But this is second or third time lately that they've come up and in on him, and that's a problem. And especially after the home runs and the 2 home runs and the 4 runs total.
Now, Joe, the fans reacted when they saw Estabrook point to the dugouts as if they thought Mike Redmond was ejected from the game. I don't believe that was the case. That's the roar that you heard.
No, he was issuing a warning, is what I saw, to both sides, because he had already pointed to the Marlins bench and then pointed to the Braves bench.
That's Chuck Hernandez, the Miami pitching coach. Uggla's at first. Atlanta has scored 4 in the opening inning, and there's only 1 out.
But just a little too obvious after the 2 home runs.
Guys, I had a long talk with Dan Uggla today about his improved eyesight. Remember, before he got his astigmatism fixed or attended to, he was having a hard time identifying pitches, especially curveballs up and in that he was bailing out of the way of. So to come up and in on Dan Uggla, he's even more intrusive than some other guys because of the issues he continues to have with his eyesight. It's getting better. It's a lot better, but he's had a hard time identifying those pitches.
Well, I'm glad he identified that one and got out of the way or got an elbow in the way.
Yeah, and I think that's why he threw his arm up, is just as some added protection.
Dan's at first with 1 out for B.J. Upton. He's got a 5-game hit streak. And it's rolled foul, 0-2.
Turner had only hit 1 batter prior to that in 77 innings.
Is it the plunking, Joe, or the positioning of the pitch?
It has to be the position of the pitch. I mean, it's just part of baseball. Hitters know that, you know, and a guy's getting knocked around a little bit, somebody get plunked or get brushed back. But when you get hit up in that area.
Uggla's going. The pitch low. Mathis's throw is way high. And that's one way a man hit by a pitch gains a measure of revenge. Uggla has his 2nd stolen base. And now he's in scoring position with 1 out.
Jeff Mathis has a great percentage of throwing out base stealers, 42%. But he threw this one from his knees without getting to his feet. And pretty much almost airmailed that into center field.
One ball, 2 strikes. Upton skies one into shallow center. Marisnik broke back, now comes in and gets there for out number 2. So BJ's retired. Here's Andrelton Simmons. The poster child, I'm sure, Joe, for the Braves who needed rest would be this guy.
Yeah, I pointed that out in Washington, that I thought, especially after he, in the last game there, popped out to right field, that when he gets tired, he starts getting under the ball and over swinging a little bit. But then he followed that up by going 2 for 4 after that with a double. but playing every inning of every game like he does, it was a welcome sight for him too. And remember his last at bat, he fouled that ball off his calf too, so a chance for that to get a little better too.
And he won't have to exert any energy in this at bat. Marlins will intentionally walk him and bring up Brandon Beachy. Chris Johnson's homered. Justin Upton has homered in the opening inning for Atlanta. First and second for Brandon Beachy. Brandon will try to help himself. Uggla's getting a gigantic lead out at second base. And a fly ball hit toward right. Stanton drifts back. He'll have plenty of room. And how's that for a welcome home first inning for Atlanta? Justin Upton hits a solo homer. Chris Johnson follows with a 3-run blast. The Braves bat around in the opening inning and batter Jacob Turner. It's 4-0 Atlanta as we go to the second.
Output that's become commonplace for this squad, and especially Justin Upton, who's now homered 6 times since the beginning of the month. So how do you treat a guy when he comes back to the dugout? Watch Chris Medlin, right side of the dugout in the corner. You're going to cool him off? You can't cool him off, but you must stay hydrated on a hot night like tonight. So Chris Medlin doing his job before congratulations are accepted in the Braves dugout. Isn't that Chipper's secret in retirement? Stay hydrated?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yes.
I think that's awesome. Just a little sip of water before all the high fives. Leave it to Chris.
Logan Morrison starts things off for Miami. We're in the second. Morrison's another Marlin that's had a bevy of health problems. Bad knees have limited his action. This is his 43rd game. But he's hit 4 homers. He's knocked in 18 runs and hitting .275.
Word on Logan is that he's finally healthy. And his numbers are bearing it out. 10 for his last 26.
Last year for Morrison, it was a nightmarish season when he faced the Braves. Logan Morrison was 0 for 25 against Braves pitching last season. Much better work this year. 5 for 15 head-to-head against Atlanta. That's the pitch, Joe, that just hasn't been awfully consistent yet for Brandon.
Just going to take some time. That's what the point I tried to get across before he came back with such high expectations. Well, when Beachy comes back, you know, what are they going to do with the rotation? When Beachy comes back, it's just not a given that guy comes back firing like he did before he got hurt.
A bullet hit to Freeman at first. He handles the one-hop rocket. And Morrison's out number one.
Brandon's in great physical shape. All that rehab work they do and conditioning work they do in advance of even going out to pitch puts him in tip-top shape. It's just a matter of arm strength and getting a feel for the baseball again.
One out for Ed Lucas, the Miami third baseman. I would imagine, partner, that an area where the Fish hope to improve next year would be power from the third base corner spot.
Yeah, Polanco's not playing much at all, and Lucas has been playing a solid defensive third base, but
You got room.
Freeman in foul ground has plenty of room and makes the play. And the lack of power by the Marlins third baseman is our cold hard fact, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
fewest home runs by a team's third baseman in the majors this season. The Marlins only one. And amazingly, the Yankees and Angels are second and third. 4 National League pitching staffs have more home runs than the Miami third baseman, including the Braves.
The Cubs, Padres, and Brewers are the other 3. How much of that is because of their home park?
Well, some. It's also just the way they stripped the team dry after last season, got rid of all their high-priced players.
Donovan Solano cracks one down the left field line. Did he keep that one fair? He did not. 0-2.
Ed Lucas, we talked about him when we were down in Miami, about how he's a guy you kind of root for when he's not playing the Braves because he spent so much time in the minor leagues. He was a journeyman, veteran minor league player and getting his first opportunity to play at this level. So that tells you they had nobody else in their system prospect-wise to put up there.
Another shot toward left. Upton on the run, makes the running catch. And it's another easy inning for Beachy. 8 first inning tosses, 10 in the second. Economy was one of Joe Ford's keys. And so far so good for Beachy, who's up 4-0.
Off the bat of Chris Johnson, who hit his 8th home run in the first inning. Here's what it looked like in regular speed. And we want to show you our new Phantom Cam, 2,500 frames per second, showing you that slow motion look. And I was amazed at how the bat quivered at the point of contact. I would never have guessed that, thinking that the bat's moving at such a great rate of speed to overpower the baseball, but it actually does quiver just a little bit at the point of contact.
See how the ball flattened out too?
Wow, that is amazing technology, isn't it?
So 4-0 as the top of the order back up for Atlanta, and it's the birthday boy, Jason Hayward. He struck out to start the game in the first.
2,500 times per second is equivalent to you tucking in a pocket square. I mean, that is amazing.
Practice makes perfect, right? As Jason pops one up, Echeverria drifts out, and he will give way to Yelich in left, and that's the first out of the second inning. Time for our Wendy's Now That's Better feature. Can't swing it any better than Justin is right now.
The before, the after, the in the middle. Great April, player of the month in the National League with all those great numbers. And really, as he goes, so goes the Braves. In May through June, kind of a 500 average, a 500 record, 27-24. Not much production from Justin, but July and August, especially since the All-Star break, it's been a different story, and back to his April-like numbers.
A strike from Turner. Up to now the team leader with 22 home runs. He and Dan Douglas started play tonight, tied for 5th in the National League in that category.
He turned on a pitch up and in. Boy, that was short and quick. Take a sip of water. You know how hard what it takes out of you to give all those high fives and do your dances and stuff in the dugout.
Happy for Chris Medlin too. He's pitching like the Chris Medlin of old, at least the last couple of times out there. He's now won 3 straight.
I told him today, I said, it made me feel good. I don't know about you, but it just looked like you last year pitching 2 days ago. And he said, yeah, I felt that. He said, it just felt different, felt like it felt last year. Release point, everything was good.
Fouled back by Upton. He's still alive. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Turner got away with one there. Fell tie down the middle.
Fly ball hammered to center. Marisnik drifts back. And he's got room. That's the second out of the inning. Mentioned Freddie Freeman's great numbers against the Marlins. He entered play hitting .394 this year with no homers and 3 RBIs. First pitch base hit pushed that average closer to 400 tonight.
Seems like he does that a lot after a Justin homer. First pitch swinging. And the reason I say that is because it seems like lately Justin's been hitting so many home runs, we don't even get a chance to really talk about it a whole lot because Freddie's making his turn to second for a double or getting on for a base hit.
I don't know the answer, nor do I have the ability to get it quickly, but I would guess that Freddie Freeman's got to be in the top 5 hitters who swing at the first pitch.
I would guess that too.
What would be interesting would be where does his batting average rank among those other players, because he's well over 300 this year. And especially with men on base and in scoring position. And a green light. and fouled it away. 3 balls and a strike.
There you go. 470 batting average on the first pitch. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, why take one? Now it's full.
It was kind of the same pitch he struck Hayward out with in the first inning. Fastball about 93 that had a little tailing action on it, running away from him.
In the air to left. Yelich drifts back. Christian gets there, and that retires the side. Turner restores some order. He gets 3 flyouts, and we move to the 3rd inning. Still 4-0 Atlanta in game 1. With a 15.5 game lead in the division, take a look at our steal of the game tonight. Guarantee your chance to get Braves postseason tickets. Buy a pennant race multi-game ticket pack, a minimum of 2 tickets, and get a bat autographed by Freddie Freeman, Andrelton Simmons, or Chris Johnson. There's a 15 buyer limit, so call 404-577-9100 now.
Good autographs, too. I don't blame Andrelton for just going A. Simmons. You'd be there a while if you had a bunch to sign.
Writer's cramp is a terrible problem in Major League Baseball.
Ron Say used to have the best autograph of all.
Really?
Oh, it was just a series of circles. Ron Say.
No balls and a strike to Adeiny Echeverria. He was one of the names that came from Toronto in the deal that sent Jose Reyes north of the border. I'd ask, here we are, first week and a half of August, how's that deal worked out? Well, it hasn't worked out for Toronto the way they hoped. They're in last place in the AL East. The Marlins in last in the National League East. B.J. Upton will be chased back a few steps. All carrying well tonight. Echeverria gave it a ride, but he's out number 1.
Some big time underachieving by those guys that Toronto got from Miami. Of course, Jose Reyes has been hurt a large part of the season with a bad ankle.
But the part that's so amazing, here the Marlins with tiny payroll, trading all those veteran guys to the Jays. They have only 10 fewer wins than Toronto at this point in the season. I would have imagined the margin would have been a whole lot more between the Jays and the Marlins.
Well, it should have been. It certainly should have been. I was one of the people that got duped into thinking that they were actually going to be able to make a run in the American League East, and due to those poor seasons by most of those guys, never developed.
Way upstairs to Jeff Mathis. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mathis started the season hurt. He broke his collarbone late in spring training. Rob Brantley had been the mainstay behind the plate for the Marlins while Mathis was recovering, and Brantley just hasn't hit. They sent him back to AAA today and brought up Koyi Hill, who was a former Cub catcher. So Mathis and Hill, the 2 Miami backstops.
Shows you how that saying, that adage that was said to me 100 years ago. It's hard to get to the big leagues. It's even harder to stay, and that's so true. Brantley looked good last fall when we saw him late in the year.
Mathis, broken bat. Johnson to his left. Good throw, gets the catcher. 2 out.
But it's just a series of adjustments, constant adjustments, with scouting so sophisticated, with so many tools available to pitching coaches. As a hitter, I'm talking about now from Brantley's standpoint, trying to find weaknesses and spots they can go to for outs.
Jacob Turner, the Marlins pitcher's up there. For me, that's what makes you appreciate what Brian McCann does for you offensively. You know about the offensive responsibilities that Brian has, but then when you factor in running a defense, handling a pitching staff, going through the opposing team's scouting reports day after day after day, pretty remarkable. The responsibilities for a major league catcher, especially in the National League. Turner looks a little low. 2 balls and a strike.
Pretty good cut. Got a high fastball. In fact, he got 3 straight fastballs and pulled the trigger on that one.
A bouncing ball toward first. Freeman will feed Beachy, and he makes the play to retire the side. Beachy's faced the minimum through 3 innings. He's retired 9 men, 131 pitches.
Phantom cam at 2,500 frames per second. This is the circle changeup for Brandon Beachy. Watch the muscles, watch the pronation of the arm as it turns out that occurs on every pitch. Here's a two-seamer. Might have actually been a four-seamer the way it comes out of his hand. That was a four-seam fastball. Now watch this curveball. He's got the grip. He's got his finger up. And watch how he comes over the top of this pitch and down. Try to impart that downward spin. That is awesome stuff right there. Don Sutton, you got something you want to add to that?
Awesome stuff right there. Those are great pictures, and I think you see right there one of the reasons why a lot of times we teach pitching wrong, because we try to teach them to hang on to the ball and turn it. Everybody who throws like that, you saw his arm go toward the third base side. So if you teach them to hang on to the slider and pull it toward first, you're going to blow something. Great pictures. I wish I'd had that when I was learning to pitch.
Yeah, you might have won some games.
Brian McCann goes to work for the Braves. Lead 4-0 in the third inning. Bryant to straightaway center. Marisnik going back. He's at the fence. He can't get it. McCann has hit a homer.
You're right, Chip. Ball is jumping tonight. A little bit of breeze blowing out, but not a gale by any means. This guy had only given up 3 home runs in 77 innings. He's given up 3 in 3 innings now. Did Brian get a drink?
He didn't. I think Medlin missed him.
What's that all about? Maybe some dugout dissension right there.
Chris Johnson. He's got a 3-run homer already tonight.
I'm sorry. The scouting report we had on Marisnik out in center is that he's a real good center fielder, and I thought for a second he might have caught that ball. See how close he came. He was a little late getting there, and I don't know that he could have reached it.
Two balls and a strike.
He wasn't throwing that many curveballs tonight, and that was his out pitch.
Another shot to deep center. Marisnik back to the edge of the track and gets there for out number 1.
Again, we're going to use our super duper phantom cam. Circle change out of the hand of Turner. But made a mistake with it location wise. And Brian's all over. Actually, that one's outer third of the plate. You got to be strong to do that to straightaway center.
So here's Ugla. He was hit by a pitch in the first inning and was escorted down the first base line by Mike Estabrook, the home plate umpire, and was none too pleased as the ball up around his shoulders and deflected by the elbow.
Well, the other part of it too for Dan is that he's really struggling. His average down to 190. He'd gotten it up over 200. Had a bad road trip. 2 for 23. So add to that frustration getting plunked after some other guys hit homers. That'll rile you up.
He's tied with Jason Hayward for the most times hit by a pitch this season. Now 7 for Dan and Jason.
4 for his last pitch. Here's that pitch if you missed it. Looked at Mike Estabrook, said, I'm going. He was going to make sure he got a couple of shots fired across the bow of Mike Estabrook toward the pitcher.
I think it's safe to say, too, Joe, the last 2 series with Bryce Harper up in Washington and here in Atlanta, both home plate umpires have done an outstanding job of keeping things under control.
Joe West was the home plate umpire in Washington.
Ugla takes ball 4. He's aboard for the second time tonight. Though Dan has struggled with his batting average and has struggled to get his share of hits, he has been walking an awful lot. Braves are second in the league in bases on balls to Cincinnati, and that's the 60th for Dan this year. Another way that this offense has created opportunities for itself. One here for B.J. Upton, who popped out in his first at bat.
You saw that graphic flash up for that fight that's coming up. I think I'm going to change my name to Joe Shogun.
Joe Shogun?
Either that or Joe Show Enough.
Well, are you going to have first the pitch, 1 ball, no strikes? A troop of ukulele playing handlers to escort you into the octagon of death, or whatever they call that thing.
It'll be somewhat Polynesian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think so. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, in case you missed it on the road trip, and shame on you if you did, Joe was talking about his musical prowess, and as a youngster played the ukulele and had one favorite song that was very, very good at playing. First the pitch, which is swung on and missed. Inagata Davida on the ukulele. I can't wait to hear it before the season's out.
It's different. Different what you're used to.
Ugla at first with 1 out, 1 and 2 for Upton. He swings and misses. That's the second out of the inning. And the second strikeout for Turner.
We were talking about that last game in Washington where BJ had the 4 hits and how he had calmed a lot of action down. His head was still, his balance was good. Watch how fast he got that foot down, that front foot there on that. Now, I know he struck out, and Turner made a good pitch with a breaking ball, but he got that front foot down so fast to get ready to let his hands fire away. But that's a good sign for BJ despite the strikeout.
Andrelton Simmons bats with 2 outs. I know we talk about the term a hitter's late. So for the casual fan, Joe, rule of thumb, what is on time for a hitter? How does he get that foot prepared to attack a pitcher's pitch?
Well, for BJ, I think you almost have to consciously think about get your foot down. Because if that's down and you're hitting against that firm front side, then your hands have a chance to work. If you're taking a long stride or if you're late getting your foot out there and getting it planted, then your hands are late trying to get to the baseball. You can't catch up.
There's a good breaking ball from Turner. He's got Simmons behind 0-2.
That's why so many guys these days hit with a wide stance and virtually no stride. They might just kind of pivot on the ball of their front foot a little bit.
The oddest thing that I ever saw when I saw it for the first time was Jeff Bagwell, who actually stepped backwards when he hit. He was very wide in his stance.
Yeah, that was definitely different. Worked for him.
Ugla runs. Simmons drives one toward left, but that's going to be playable for Yelich. And he's got it to retire the side. With Shogun Joe, Chip Carey from Turner Field. 5-0. Atlanta the lead as we head to the 4th inning.
5-0 here as this homestand begins. And when they got to the ballpark today, a lot of these Braves got to see their teammate Tim Hudson, who was out for the rest of the season with that ankle injury, but back to visit with them today. And he hasn't been that far from the team. He's been watching every single game on television. Here's his review of this squad.
I've been in at every pitch at home and every at bat, and you know, I was joking with some of the guys earlier. Man, I felt like I was like a big brother, you know, a proud big brother, and you know, at home watching their little brothers go out there and just kick everybody's butt on the baseball field, and I just had a lot of pride in watching them go out there and do what they've been doing, and watching these guys go out there and pitch and just seeing what they're doing. Man, honestly, it makes me be able to deal with this a lot easier.
And guys, that was the point from the conversation, that the fact that the team is winning without him has made it a lot easier for Tim to cope with it. He also said, obviously, he wants to be back in a Braves uniform next year. A guy who underwent Tommy John surgery, back surgery. He said this ankle thing, it's not going to be a problem.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, it's a shame for Tim, but great to see him in the locker room today. I talked to him before the game. I know you did as well, Joe. He was telling me that the plan tonight was to get the hard cast off his surgically repaired ankle tonight, be placed in a walking boot. Staples removed as well for Hudson tonight.
That's amazing. That sounds
2 weeks.
Yeah, really fast to me. Quick healer.
Christian Yelich, a 1-2 count. And he'll have a seat. Beachy paints the outside corner. First strikeout for Brandon tonight. And one man down with the Braves up 5-0. All year long, Braves baseball on Fox Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. Here's Jake Marisnick with Yelich aboard in the first inning. The runner took off for second. Marisnick then hit a line drive to short. Simmons speared it, caught it on the fly, and threw to first for a double play. Giancarlo Stanton then flied out, and the Marlins haven't threatened since. As hot as Yelich has been, it's been a little tougher go for Marisnick. He began his big league career 0 for 14 at the plate. Both he and Yelich were called up on July 23rd by Miami.
One of these guys, and I want to say it was Marisnick, right before he got called up, had a 9 RBI game in Double-A. It was Marisnick. At Pensacola, he went 3 for 5 with a double and 2 home runs, and both of the home runs were grand slams.
Wow.
That's a pretty good day.
Yeah. One ball, 2 strikes. And Beachy gets him looking. That's the second out of the 4th inning.
I think that's his best fastball of the night, too, 93. Let's look at his first 2 lines from his first 2 starts. At the bottom against Colorado, 3 2/3, 8 hits, 7 runs. And then Saturday at Philadelphia, improvement. Pitched into the 7th inning, gave up only 5 hits and 3 earned runs and 4 strikeouts. So improvement from the first to the second, and he's hoping for similar improvement tonight. And that 93 fastball, a good sign of it right there on the strikeout.
Swing and a miss for Stanton.
Good change up there.
Braves have a shift on for Giancarlo. 3 defenders on the left side of the infield. And Beachy just struck out the side looking. Wow, Yelich, Marisnick, and Stanton retired on 11 pitches. 3 straight strikeouts sends this game to the home half of the 4th inning. It's all Atlanta.
AT Uverse, by Delta Airlines, and by Ford.
Another day, another lead for Atlanta. It's 5-0 for Brandon Beachy, who starts things off in the fourth. What a crowd tonight. As always, we are used to big gatherings for Friday night fireworks. But with Marlins in town, usually not a great draw for Atlanta. But the final weekend before school starts, and a 13-game winning streak, that's really helped the turnstiles click tonight.
I'm not sure everybody was in their seats before it was 4-0.
Beachy goes down swinging. And that's the third strikeout for Turner. Let's check out our DirecTV standings update. Big lead for Atlanta.
Best records in the National League. The Pirates lead by a half game in that category. That is all important, as Chip explained earlier. That is for home field advantage for all the National League playoffs. Whoever has the best record.
That's a question. I know you've done your share of radio shows around the country talking about the Braves during the streak. With a lead of this size, the questioners are asking, oh, with a lead that big, it's got to be easy. You just put your season on cruise control. Is that a concern at all for Freddie Gonzalez in this ball club?
I don't think so. I really don't. And the reason is because, this streak is going to end at some point, you figure.
Base hit for Hayward. Happy birthday to him. He's 1 for 3 and is aboard with 1 out.
But even when it does come to an end, there is that to play for, and that's that home field advantage, and that is so important typically.
And frankly, nothing's decided anyway. The Braves haven't clinched anything but the longest winning streak in National League play right now. And there's another streak over in the other league we ought to talk about tonight. That's the Tigers. Detroit's built a big lead now over Cleveland. Kansas City's trying to chase down both of those clubs in the AL Central as well.
Poor Kansas City. God, playing great and they can't gain any ground. Losing ground.
I'll tell you about that in a second, as Upton is behind 0-1. That one gets by Mathis, and Hayward takes 90 feet. He's at second base with 1 away. The Royals have won 14 of their last 16 games. 14-2 in their last 16 games, and they've actually lost a half game in the standings.
That's disheartening.
So KC 8.5 back in the Central. Cleveland 7 back. Two balls and a strike to Upton. Hayward at second after the wild pitch.
There's the hook. It's probably the best one he's thrown tonight. That one he took a little off and threw it like a slow curve.
Here comes the 2-2 pitch. Grounded deep, short, picked off by Lucas. Nice play at third base. And that's the second out. No advance by Hayward. Freddie Freeman hits with 2 outs. America's new sports network is almost here. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for live sports. Shows like The Crowd Goes Wild, Fox Football Daily and Fox Sports Live, the news and highlight show fans have been waiting for. America's News Sports Network, Fox Sports 1 premieres Saturday, August 17th.
You mentioned the Tigers having their 12-game winning streak, Chip. According to Elias Sports,
there's that first pitch swing again by Freeman, but he pulled it foul.
and I know better than to start a story with 2 out in the first pitch to Freddie. The last time 2 teams had 12 or better winning streaks going, 12 games or better, at the same time, were the Baltimore Unions and the St. Louis Maroons in 1884.
1884?
Uh-huh. Your grandfather, I know, was excited during that 12-game streak.
Oh, I love the Maroons, you know. They had a guy from Venezuela on that team.
Yeah.
His nickname was Asabuco. Not Oso Blanco. That's a distant relative.
2 balls and a strike. Speaking of Grandpa, 25 years ago yesterday, the first night game at Wrigley. 8-8-88. And as things typically went for the Cubs, game got rained out. Had to play again the next day against the Phillies. 2 balls, 2 strikes. This is an uncharacteristic performance by a Marlins starter. They have had an amazing run working. In 41 of their last 47 games, their starting pitcher has given up 3 earned runs or less. Not so tonight for Jacob Turner, who missed inside to Freeman. And runners at first and second for 2 outs. Brian McCann is up as we check in again with Tom Hart.
All right, Chip, thanks. Checking in with the Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. You were talking about streaks. Here's how the Braves and Tigers match up right now. Run differential belongs to Detroit in their 12-game streak. Obviously, the Braves bullpen has been better, but here's a secret. Both teams have come from behind during these long win streaks. The Braves 7 times, the Tigers 8. And in that span, Braves have advanced their lead by 7.5 games. The Tigers by 4 because Cleveland and Kansas City have both been hot during that span. Braves couldn't say the same about the Phillies and the Nats.
It's good stuff, Tom, and a real good comparison between the 2 teams and how they're getting it done. Braves have done a great job of coming from behind, as that indicates, and then the bullpen a good job of hanging on to that lead.
There's a strike for McCann. 1-1 your count. Who's closing now for the Tigers? Well, Valverde was with them and was in the minor leagues and was released.
Yeah, they got released from AAA.
Max Scherzer, he's got 17 wins now for them. Verlander, from what we have been reading, hasn't been having a Verlander-like season, but he's as good as it gets when he's right. Bouncing ball right side. Morrison will flip to the pitcher covering. And Turner and the Marlins are out of the 4th inning. By the way, the Tigers have that guy named Miguel Cabrera. You might have heard of him too. 2 long streaks. The Braves hope theirs continue tonight. We're through 4 with a 5-run lead.
5-0 Braves will go to the top of the 5th inning. And again, fans, guarantee your chance to get Braves postseason tickets with the steal of the game. Purchase a pennant race multi-game ticket pack and a minimum of 2 tickets and get a bat autographed by Freddie Freeman, Andrelton Simmons, or Chris Johnson. There's a 15 buyer limit, so call 404-577-9100 right now.
Well, last May 17th, Brandon Beachy pitched maybe the best major league game of his career. He's trying to repeat that performance against the Marlins tonight. He's allowed 1 hit through 4 innings. That was to the leadoff man, Christian Yelich. Now Logan Morrison starts things off and rolls one foul past first for an even count.
That good control, as that 3 strikeout inning in the 4th would prove. 3 called strikes, 3rd strikes. But mostly, I think all 3 of those were fastballs.
In the air to shallow left center field. Morrison flips one out for the second Marlins hit, his first in tonight's game. That ends a streak of 11 straight Marlins hitters retire. Here's Lucas. As he stands in, let's check out our AT UVerse trivia question. Who holds the Marlins single season record for runs batted in?
Might be the guy you just mentioned. Cabrera.
Oh, yeah, Miguel. I was thinking Logan Morrison had. Cabrera wasn't the first name that popped into my head, though, as Lucas digs in. Didn't Preston Wilson have a gigantic year for them one season?
I have, yeah.
It's the one real good year he had.
Yeah.
Marlins are hoping that Giancarlo Stanton will put up those kinds of offensive numbers too. Beachy back in the stretch. And Lucas jumps on one and drives it toward right center field. Good jump by BJ. That ball was ticketed for the gap, but Upton's speed allowed him to catch up for the first out of the inning.
We talk a lot about how on certain nights the ball's carrying when the ball goes over the fence. It also applies to balls that are fly balls that stay in the ballpark that kind of carry out and don't drop in for hits too.
One on, one out for Donovan Solano. Couple of homers, 18 RBIs for the native of Colombia. Quick strike.
Got some wafting going on over there, don't you?
Yep. Our friends at the Waffle House have come through. I'm almost in tears. I'm so happy right now. What'd you get?
I got smothered and covered.
Went one better. Smothered, covered, and chunked.
Well, that's in keeping.
Well, yes, yes, it is. No balls, 2 strikes. Popped up. That will stay in play for Freddie Freeman. He smothers that. 2 outs. I don't think I've seen this broadcast booth so happy.
No, me neither. As soon as the 3rd out is made this half inning, there'll be some definite diving in, and we thank the folks at the Waffle House.
The Braves are unbeaten
Right.
since the Waffle House came to Turner Field, right?
That's an important message. I think that we had that graphic right before the Braves went on the road with
Right.
Waffle House and the Rathbun Steaks and the team record since they've come into the ballpark. Waffle House undefeated.
No balls and a strike for Echeverria. That's why we're seeing so little of Tom Hart at the ballpark. On our air, I think he's perpetually in line down there on the concourse level.
Yeah, somebody came up to the booth a minute ago with a RF microphone, remote microphone, and said we found this on the concourse. It had mustard on it.
Right.
So far, so good for Brandon. Low pitch counts, quick innings. Morrison hit a changeup that he left up earlier this inning, but he made a real good pitch on the changeup earlier in the count here to Solano. When Solano was up.
How about that pitch that danced in at 71 miles an hour? One ball, two strikes. Morrison anchored at first with 2 outs. And a ground ball to second. Ugla will flip to Edlerton at the bag. And Beachy is through the 5th inning with a 5-0 lead. There's your Delta Airlines trio coming up. Turner Field, big crowd. Really love the way this one got started. Let's enjoy our Crown Royal game summary.
Brandon Beachy also firing a shutout baseball, only giving up 2 hits and no walks. Much improved over his first 2 starts so far. But the Braves gave him some support in the first inning. Justin Upton with 1 out extended his hitting streak to 13 games with that home run. And then after a single and an error, Chris Johnson on the first pitch he saw went deep. Brian McCann led off the 3rd inning with a home run. For Upton, his 22nd of the year. For Johnson, his 8th. And for Brian McCann, his 17th.
Beautiful warm night in Georgia. 5-0 Braves, 5th inning. Johnson, Ugla, and BJ coming up. One ball, no strikes for Chris Johnson. His average at .340 now. That's tops in the league. And now ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes.
some of that work has been against the Miami Marlins this season. A .436 average, 17 hits. Thanks to the Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot.
Johnson now 10 points ahead of Yadier Molina of the Cardinals. Has had knee problems, is still disabled. His injury was termed an overuse injury. All that squatting up and down aggravates the knees, so when he comes back, it'll be interesting to see how often he's utilized behind the dish. Echeverria, nice play. Takes care of Chris Johnson. 1 up, 1 down in the Braves' 5th. Let's check in again with Tom.
Guys, I apologize if my mic is distorted. Most of the mustard has been cleared off, but not all of it. Found this from Grant Brisbee from the McCovey Chronicles. Would you believe that Dan Uggla is the second best hitter in Major League Baseball when it comes to swinging at the fewest pitches out of the strike zone? He's under 20%. Marco Scutaro leads the big leagues. The problem is pitches outside of the strike zone, he's only making contact 64% of the time. Pitches inside the strike zone, he's worse than the Major League average as well. I talked to Dan about that today. He said, I know I'm having trouble with pitches that are strikes. This has to stop now. He added that he thought he got in some bad habits when he was having eyesight issues, but mainly it's pitch recognition and timing. Specifically, if there's a fastball that Dan Uggla can't hit, it's not because he can't see it or doesn't have a good eye to locate it. He's having a hard time getting the timing down to do so.
Tom, I think that applied to BJ earlier in the year. And for that middle stretch of the season, I think it applied to Justin too, where their timing got out of whack and their mechanics were not allowing them to let their hands work. But I contend that for Dan, it applies to the way he gets out extended toward the left-handed batter's box, and then the bat sweeps through the zone. When he's doing that, he's slower than he typically would be when he lets his hands stay inside the baseball. When you do that, when you throw the bat out toward the left-handed batter's box, in his case, that's called casting. Literally like fishing. Cast out, and then you drag the bat through the zone, and that really slows you down.
I know you are a big proponent of saying a hitter, when he's seeing the ball well and has an effective swing, will get jammed from time to time.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on the road trip. That when was the last time he got jammed?
Can't remember. He's got a full count now. The base is empty, 1 out. And he's down on strikes. That's the 4th strikeout for Turner. And 2 are out in the inning.
Well, and the other thing is that Dan, and I know he understands this because he's been playing a long time and had a lot of success, but teams are not going to pitch him middle in unless they make an absolute 100% mistake. They're going to keep throwing middle away and actually from the outside corner away and hope that he chases. Hard for him to do any damage out there.
So B.J. Upton bats. He'll try to extend his hitting streak in the 5th inning. It stands at 5 games. And it's belt high over the inside corner. Just a tick or two past the top of the hour in Atlanta. Hope you're enjoying the ball game. Warm, muggy night in Atlanta. At this point, nothing's been able to cool off the Braves. They scored 4 first-inning runs. Homers by Upton and Johnson. Ryan McCann added a solo shot in the 3rd. Brandon Beachy has pitched 5 innings of 2-hit baseball. That's line foul down the left field line. 2-2.
Foot down. Hands work better. Excellent low ball hitter. Might keep it fair.
And a swing and a miss. Retires Atlanta in the 5th. 3 up, 3 down for Turner. That might be his last inning. He's due second when the Marlins come up in the top of the 6th inning. Great looks at our Phantom Cam in Atlanta. A high-speed camera up to 3,000 frames per second. A normal video image is around 380 frames per second. What technology. Love seeing the ball flatten out when Chris Johnson hit that home run. It's amazing, the compression. And as you said, the bat waggle.
It's our boy Gumby operating that high dollar material tonight, which is a little scary in itself right there.
Jeff Mathis will start it off. Juan Pierre's grabbed a bat. He'll pinch hit. Looks like Turner's night is over after 5 innings. Mathis grounded out to third in his first at bat tonight. Two balls and a strike. I know times are tough for the Marlins right now, but do you like the direction they're headed?
That's a tough question. They, I really was disgusted with what they did to their team at the end of last season. I hated that from their fan standpoint after all that the fans and the city had done to help them build that stadium. Thought that was disgusting.
Play from McCann, full count.
I have seen what their scouting department does, and the players that they scout and draft and develop are really good. And when they started bringing up some of the younger guys and some of their prospects, you can see the improvement. And a lot of that has to do with pitching. A 3.31 ERA over that stretch at 29 and 29, and that includes their 5-game losing streak. So they were 29 and 24. So the answer to your question would have to be yes, because they've got some good young arms, and they've got some position players that are very impressive. I like Echeverria. That was a good trade to get him. If you're gonna make the deal, you got a quality shortstop.
To center and playable for Upton. Mathis flies out, one away.
But they had a quality shortstop. They had an all-star shortstop. So it's not going to be an overnight turnaround for them, but they are certainly better at this stage right now than they were 2 months ago.
Yeah, and will they keep Stanton? Will he sign with them when he becomes a free agent? Will the Marlins, if they get more and more competitive, either make deals or sign free agents to improve their club? And frankly, will free agents want to sign there after Burley and Reyes were shipped off after 1 year in Miami uniforms?
Well, let's go back a couple of years. Remember when the Players Association and Major League Baseball got on the Marlins because they were getting all this tax money as a bottom dwelling team.
Oh, the revenue sharing?
The revenue sharing. They were getting all this money, but none of the money was going into the team, at least according to Major League Baseball. It was like, hey, this money is supposed to help you improve your team and make you more competitive. Well, they immediately signed Josh Johnson to a multi-year deal. But prior to that, they had not signed anybody to any long-term deals. But it was like they got their hands slapped, and it's like, oh, okay, we'll do something to make it right. So when Giancarlo Stanton's time comes up to sign him to a long-term deal to keep him in Miami, I have no confidence at all that they're going to do that. And I doubt that there are many fans in Miami that feel any different.
Little flip off the bat of Pierre down the left field line, and that's in for a hit. He's going to try for second. The throw is going to be close and not in time. Juan Pierre does what he does so well. Puts the ball in play And finds a sweet spot down the left field line for the third Miami hit of the game.
Couldn't have thrown it out there any better. I mean, just inside the paint. And you can still motor.
So here's Yelich with an RBI chance. He is singled and struck out. Last year, Joe, the Marlins payroll was a franchise record, I believe, $101 million. After all those big salary dumps, their payroll this year is a shade over $50 million. One ball, no strikes.
There's a good curveball. It seems like every time he's taken a little off that curve, he's had better results with it.
And that $50 million total, a little deceiving. I'll explain in a moment. Ground ball back to Beachy. He's going to fire to third, and the Braves are going to get Pierre. Beachy stumbled, slipped as he made that play. Made the peg to third. Let's see if he's all right.
He may have rolled his ankle a little bit. Ryan McCann was motioning to the dugout, but let's see what happens here. Yeah, it kind of got his toe caught. Like his spikes got caught right on the edge of the grass. It caused him to roll it a little bit, but he says he's all right. Brandon played a lot of infield when he was playing in college. Showed you some of his athletic ability there, even off balance, made a good throw. But back to their
that $50 million total included Ricky Nolasco's $11 million. And he's since been traded, of course, to Los Angeles. And I think they took all the money. So the highest paid player on the Marlins club is Placido Polanco, who makes $2,750,000. So
you can understand why a lot of fans wanted their money back for season tickets.
And that's the unfortunate thing, because as we showed you, Marlins are 29-29 over the last 58 games. This is an exciting group of young players to watch. Just wonder how many of them are showing up at Marlins Park to see this team play. I'm guessing not many. Marlins dead last in attendance in the National League. Dead last in baseball, averaging a little over 18,000 fans a game in a great ballpark.
Very expensive new ballpark.
Popped up by Marisnik. At second base, Dan Ugla's got a beat on that, and he makes the play. Brandon Beachy is pitching another beauty against Miami. He's got a 3-hit shutout tonight, and he's due up second in the 6th inning. The Georgia Lottery, by the Home Depot, and by Toyota. Well, at this point in the season, you can sum up these two clubs this way. The Marlins don't hit much, and the Braves are hitting everything in sight. 5-0 is your score. A 4-run first inning ambush got the weekend series started. Tonight's game 1. Tomorrow night it's game 2. And here are your Chevron upcoming starters.
Alex Wood really beginning to settle in his role in the rotation. Has pitched real well his last couple of times out, and I'm always anxious to see him go back out there. It seems like every time out he gets a little better. Against Nathan Eovaldi, who has not pitched that much, but he's beginning to come around. You might remember he started the season on the disabled list for the Fish. See how many starts he has. This will only be his 10th start. They got him from the Dodgers last year.
There's an interesting stat on Nathan Eovaldi I'll tell you about after we introduce Dan Jennings. He's the new Marlins pitcher. And he delivers a quick strike to the Braves shortstop. Game number 29 for Dan Jennings. Think about all the hard-throwing starters that we have in Major League Baseball these days. Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler, Jose Fernandez, Clayton Kershaw, Felix Hernandez. Nate Eovaldi has the highest average velocity fastball in the game.
No kidding.
His average is 96.2 miles an hour.
I didn't know that.
Sometimes his command is an issue. He's got a big arm. We'll see him tomorrow night. 1 ball, 2 strikes for Simmons. Speaking of the Dodgers,
Braves have got a guy going tomorrow that can go forward and backward at the same time.
Top that.
So should be quite a matchup.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Bouncing ball up the middle. Solano behind the bag. Gets his man. 1 out. Speaking of the Dodgers, they're back home. We'll see if their luck that was with them on the road continues at Dodger Stadium. They've got a great series brewing this weekend. The Tampa Bay Rays are in town in Los Angeles.
Well, they sure wiped out the Cardinals. I know that. In St. Louis. St. Louis shorthanded, of course, without Molina. Was it Shelby Miller that got knocked out on the second pitch of the game?
He took some heat for how he handled that situation in St. Louis. He brought in a young relief pitcher to finish up the first inning, then brought in Jake Westbrook on 3 days of rest, and Westbrook pitched and got clobbered. I don't know if that was the right thing or the wrong thing to do, but a lot of folks in St. Louis were a little concerned. For the Cardinals, going through a stretch like the Braves went through after their hot start, they too are playing 500 baseball over the last couple of months.
Well, they don't have the luxury of having the rest of their division mates playing poor baseball.
Right.
Between the Pirates, who are hot, and the Reds, who are tough, they've got to be careful.
I think over the next 3-4 weeks, the Cardinals are alternating home and road with both the Pirates and Cincinnati. In fact, St. Louis has 9 games left with Pittsburgh on the schedule. 9 more, and the Pirates with a 4-game lead in the Central.
Jennings fastball in the low 90s. Fastball slider guy.
Beachy shoots one to right. Stanton gets there. And that's out number 2 in the inning. Guarantee your chance to get Braves postseason tickets with the steal of the game. Buy a pennant race multi-game ticket pack with a minimum of 2 tickets, and you'll get a bat autographed by Freddie Freeman, Andrelton Simmons, or Chris Johnson. There's a 15 buyer limit, so call 404-577-9100.
That Freeman signature, I mean, it's obvious it's FF and a 5 with a squiggle. Chris Johnson, I got no clue on that one.
No.
Could you make out that would be a Chris if I just showed it to you?
has to do is put 340 on there. We'll know who it is.
Right.
1 ball, 1 strike. Jason Hayward is 24 years old today.
Happy birthday, Jay Hay.
Guys, his favorite birthday present ever was a ukulele. Just kidding. It was a BMX bike when he turned 11. It had pegs in the front and the back. His grandmother gave it to him, shipped it to his home, and he put it together all by himself. I was really impressed. I said, no nuts or bolts left over? I'd still ride it without those.
1 count, swing and a miss. 3-2.
That's great. I mean, how many of us are that? I think that's kind of consistent with all of us guys, isn't it? At that age is that you got a bicycle, a brand new bike. I mean, a lot of people would vote for that their best present.
A 2-hit night might be a good present too. And Hayward smokes one off the base of the wall in left center field. Man, did you hear the sound of that ball as it hit the fence? Some 400 feet away, we could hear the pop against the wall. That ball was crushed.
Slider running away from him, took it the other way.
You know what? He's
16th double.
Sorry, Joe. He's been doing a real good job of late against left-handed pitchers.
Braves have hit 3 more home runs tonight. Take a look at this. Last season, 162 games, they hit 149 home runs. They've already hit 141. With how many games left? 46.
Unbelievable work. Upton's hit 1 tonight. Great contact damage ratio for Atlanta. 5 runs on 6 hits. A 13-game hitting streak now for Justin. Did you say earlier, as he goes, so go the Braves?
Since their hot streaks are certainly attached to him.
Right. And now 1-1. Washington's winning tonight. They're beating the Phillies. That's an 8-2 game at Nationals Park. The Mets will be in Arizona later on tonight. The Mets start play tonight. A game out of second place. They've got to try to win without David Wright, who's out for a while with bad hamstring. Two balls and a strike. The other game of import for the Braves is taking place in Colorado tonight. Pirates have begun a series in Coors Field and are trailing the Rockies 4-0 in the second inning. Braves are big Colorado fans this weekend. 3 balls and a strike. Bouncing ball to the right side. Morrison fields and throws to Jennings. And he makes the play at first to retire the side. 5-0 Atlanta the lead. Tonight USAA would like to pay special recognition to all of our service members at home and abroad. Big night again for the Braves. An early lead. Terrific pitching by Beachy and 3 homers.
3 home runs get everybody excited early. Give the Braves an early lead. Oh, hang on, man. We don't have third base umpire. There he is. The home runs get everybody excited, but it's the pitching of Brandon Beachy that's got me excited tonight because he seems to be getting better each inning.
He scattered hits in the 1st, the 5th, and the 6th. And now Giancarlo Stanton leads off the 7th inning for Miami. And he's behind 0-2.
98 pitches in his last start against Philadelphia. That's the most he had thrown in any start, including all of his rehab assignments. He has had a very good changeup, and when he throws that slow curveball, he's had that working too. Here's a look at some of his work tonight. Had some quick innings, got some early outs, and that 4th inning when he struck out the side, you're seeing some well-located fastballs. Defense there too after he stumbled. Second time he's faced Stanton tonight.
Braves have pitched him tough all year long. So Stanton's frustrating offensive year has continued tonight. He's 0 for 3. Logan Morrison is 1 for 2. He had a leadoff hit in the 5th. Ball too high. Straight out of the zone for the Miami first baseman. And Lucas is next. He's 0 for 2. Morrison had a home run cut and tipped it into Brian McCann's glove. Full count.
Beachy's fastballs ranged 89, 90 up to 93, but it's mostly been right around 90, 91 all night. Always loved Brandon's delivery and his arm action. Very solid. I'll call it a standard windup, you know, with good balance, with his real quick arm action and good finish with his hand and wrist on the end of his pitches. I love that. That snap.
Line foul. And we'll do it again. Well, again on that Phantom cam, the pictures we had of Beachy's different pitches.
Look at the arm action, but look at the extension here and the way that hand and wrist go down to finish the pitch. Probably a lot of people at home that didn't know that your arm, that anybody that throws a baseball or even softball for that matter, that your arm does that naturally, that it actually pronates out.
Let's go to LA for an all-important Fox Sports 1 game break. Thank you much. How about Oakland? 14-3 in the 7th inning. The A's all of a sudden, though, Joe, find themselves in a tight race with Texas. The Rangers have won 9 of 10 and have pulled into a flat-footed tie in the AL West.
Yeah, I thought they were kind of dead in the water about 2 weeks ago.
Back to the mound. Beachy's going to start another double play. The Kokomo Kid's having himself quite a night. He's beating the Marlins again, 5-0. He's allowed just 3 hits as we stretch at Turner Field. Chris Johnson coming up. Dan Jennings back out there for the Fish. Braves now 6 outs away from extending their win streak to 14, 1 shy of the team record. We mentioned the other streaking club, that's the Tigers. They're losing tonight. The Yankees at home are beating them 3-0. That game's in the 5th inning in the Bronx.
We were talking about the Rangers when we went to break. One of the things they did to shore up their team too with the loss of Nelson Cruz to the suspensions was to acquire Alex Rios from the White Sox today. Got him on waivers. There was some speculation when we left Washington, D.C. Wednesday night that Mark DeRosa, the former Brave who plays for Toronto now, had been claimed by a mystery team off waivers, and a lot of speculation was that maybe the Braves were the team that claimed him.
Back up the middle, Echeverria lays out and makes a marvelous play.
That's big league play right there, folks. They're very proud of their shortstop and his defense too. He booted that little squibber off the bat of McCann in the 1st inning that was very costly. But what a throw here from his knee to Rob Freddie. Anyway, the word is now that a team did claim Mark DeRosa, but that he was pulled back.
And he has a very friendly team option next year. And apparently Toronto has no inclination of trading him this year. But probably
friendly from a financial standpoint.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, excuse me. And may keep him next year.
Yeah.
1 out for Brian McCann.
That was too bad because that would have been a nice addition for Atlanta to have a guy with that kind of experience, not to mention postseason experience too.
And history here.
Yeah. Still makes his home here.
McCann rips one to right. He's reached base 3 times. He scored twice and is 2 for 4 in the game.
That's a good sign for Brian, too. He didn't have a great road trip. He only hit 182 on the trip. He did have a home run while they were away from Turner Field. But against lefties, he's only hitting .211 this year, which is unusual for him. And that was a good swing he just put on Jennings.
Chris Johnson looks for his 40th multi-hit game this year. He's at .339, tops in the league. And a swing and a miss retires Johnson. Runner at first. And 2 out.
Time for Georgia Power. Energy tip number 10. Chipper Jones, number 10. Georgia Power customers can receive a $20 rebate with the purchase of a qualifying Energy Star certified freezer through November 30th. Visit georgiapower.com/appliance rebates.
Here's Ugla. Dan has been hit by a pitch. He's walked and he's struck out. And now he's going to bounce to third. Lucas makes a nice play and throws on the run. And that retires the side. On we go to the 8th inning. All Atlanta tonight. 5-0 over the Marlins. By Crown Royal, by Georgia Power, and by AT&T. It's 5-0 Atlanta. We are through 7 innings. And never get tired of seeing a slow-mo strike 3 call by the home plate umpire. Tonight it's Mike Estabrook. Always like to see a correct answer on the AT&T Uverse trivia question. Who holds the Marlins single-season record for RBIs?
I'm going to go with Miguel Cabrera, but I liked your choice,
I'm going with Preston Wilson.
Okay.
He had one great year. I can't remember how many RBIs it was, but I think it was him.
Way to go.
He was supposed to be a can't-miss superstar.
You know, we're 1-0 on the homestand.
Oh.
I use the term "me" loosely, but
Well,
I'm with you, win or tie.
that's exactly right. Paul Giannis is checked in defensively as Beachy goes after Donovan Solano. So one of your 4 keys tonight was economy for Brandon Beachy, or something along
Less
those
effort,
lines.
yeah.
Less effort. I mean, 88 pitches now after 7 innings.
Yeah, his highest pitch total for any inning was 18 back in the 6th inning. He's been around the plate. He's issued only 1 walk, only 2 3-ball counts, and that's why his pitch count looks like that on an inning by inning basis. Really good tonight. And you mentioned it before, a little bit like that start he had last year against them when he went 9 innings, 5-hit shutout.
He went around. Solano is struck out. That's 5 strikeouts for Beachy in the game.
And before Echeverria hits, remember to guarantee your chance to get Braves postseason tickets with a steal of the game. Purchase a pennant race multi-game ticket pack, a minimum of 2 tickets, and get a bad autograph by Freeman, Simmons, or Chris Johnson. There's a 15 buyer limit, so call 404-577-9100 right now.
Or else Joe will come to your house and play the ukulele. Strike 1 to Echeverria.
You do not want that to happen. Good curveball to start Echeverria. It's a closer, 5-game losing streak. You don't get a chance to use him very much, so he must need to work.
Pop fly foul. Braves bullpen is busy too. That's Scott Downs. Washington beat the Phillies 9-2. Dan Herron picked up the win. An historical note in that game for Herron. He's one of 3 active pitchers in the big leagues now that has beaten every major league team.
How about that? He beat up on their former teammate John Lannon.
Pop fly into shallow center. And Upton is there and has it. And that's out number 2. Echeverria is retired for Jeff Mathis. If I could read my writing, I could tell you who the other 2 were. I know one of them's Barry Zito. So we'll keep you in suspense until the 9th inning to tell you who that other man is that's beaten every major league team. Here's Mathis, 2 outs, base is empty. And he pops the first pitch up over the Braves dugout. Freeman will give chase and won't have a play. Tell you what, Dan Herron really had a rough first half of the season. He's pitched pretty good ball of late for that Washington team. I'm glad we missed him up at Nationals Park.
And they scored some runs tonight, maybe in celebration of Atlanta leaving town.
Big crowd tonight. Official attendance just announced at 37,424. They would love to see Brandon Beachy finish his night with a flourish. He has struck out 5. And he wasted a fastball high. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He's lost a little bit on his fastball. Tried to go upstairs, get him to chase there, but it was at 90. That's not losing a lot, but he's a little bit off from where he started. And his curveball's gotten better and better all night as the game went along.
How about that pitch?
Change.
82-mile-an-hour changeup strikes out Mathis, and Brandon Beachy is 3 outs away from his first win post Tommy John surgery. Big night for Atlanta. 5-0's your score. add to their 8th inning lead tonight. Brandon Beachy, what a night for him. He's our SunTrust shining moment.
8 innings, a 3-hit shutout ball, and just his 3rd start back from Tommy John surgery. The 1 walk, that was only the 2nd 3-ball count he had been to tonight. Spotting his fastball. Had a good curveball after about the 1st or 2nd inning, and an outstanding change virtually all night. Helped himself out on a couple of plays and a couple of comebackers too. That fastball, well located fastball and changeup seem to be the weapons tonight. Good for him.
So incrementally, start by start by start, Brandon Beachy's gotten better and better and better.
And tonight he'll get a lot of confidence boost from the way he pitched tonight.
B.J. Upton leads off the Atlanta 8th. And as Joe mentioned, Steve Cishek hasn't gotten a lot of work. He's their closer, and he's been good. 23 for 25 in saves. And he's got a new battery mate as well. We'll tell you about Coy Hill in a second. Upton broke his bat, and it's bounced out to short. Richie Maria makes the play. Let's check and see if everyone's all right in the stands. Upton really got sawed off. 1 out.
Yeah, that was scary because fans start watching the baseball and don't even realize that the big end of the bat is pinwheeling their way. It looked like it missed everybody.
So BJ's hit streak is finished after an 0 for 4 night.
Cishek has the longest consecutive save streak working. I thought it was 2nd. I guess 2nd in the National League. Craig Kimbrell first at 26. Greg Holland of the Royals at 23. And Cishek is at 16. Excuse me, 18.
I'm sure there was some who thought, hey, maybe the Marlins ought to deal this guy at the deadline. You could probably get a lot in return for a man that's doing what he's doing. But guys that can do what Cishek does are really hard to get. So if you have a good closer, got to be worried about getting rid of him.
And payroll wise,
yeah,
they're not getting rid of him.
Yeah, good point.
On a per save basis, they're getting real good economy. Watch this guy with our Phantom cam. Cocks the wrist way behind him. Looks like a big bird about to take off out of the water. This guy throws hard from down here too. Leading with that elbow. Boy, you could even see the ulnar collateral ligament in that, or that tendon running along his elbow.
No. Thank you very much, Phantom Cam, for that. Joey Turdoslavich. That's for Beachy. Brandon, 8 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and he struck out 6. So it's been a happy homecoming here for the Braves. Great to be back home after the great care shown us by our friends at Delta Airlines, proud sponsor of the Braves. Got us home safe and sound about 3 in the morning yesterday after our trip to Washington. 2 balls and a strike. Downs is going to come on for the 9th. Braves also got some news today, Joe. Games moved along so quickly we haven't had a chance, but both Jordan Schaefer and Gerald Laird might be back before the weekend's over.
Jordan tonight 0 for 3 for Gwinnett. Laird 0 for 2.
Turdoslavich, a sharp ground ball to Solano, and that will retire the side. 3 out, 3 down for Steve Cishek. We head to the 9th. The Braves need 3 outs to extend their winning streak to 14 in a row.
Light freeze cam. Brian McCann made it 5-0 with his home run in the third inning, but it was close. Straightaway center. Marishnik made a leaping effort and looked like he just missed, although the ball did clear his glove and the fence by a pretty good margin, as it shows there on the Coors Light freeze cam, brought to you by Frostbrewed Coors Light.
So as we head to the ninth inning, as we mentioned, Brandon Beachy's night is complete. Our AT&T call to the bullpen is answered by the newest Brave. That's left-handed reliever Scott Downs.
He needs to work. He hasn't worked in 5 days. Did not see any action in the Washington series. His last action was August 4th at Philadelphia. 2/3 of an inning, a hit and a strikeout. And this will be his 5th game for Atlanta. With Atlanta, 3 2/3 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts.
And he's facing the newest Marlin. That's Coy Hill, who's just brought up from AAA today. Rob Brantley was sent back to the minors, and he makes a good impression with a scorched shot past Janish and into left field. So Hill's at first. For more on him, let's check in with Tom Harden.
Chip, thanks. Coy Hill has an incredible story. Originally drafted by the Dodgers in the offseason of 2007, he was cutting some wood on a table saw, building a window frame. Now, his dad is a master carpenter. He said, I've been around power tools all my life. This time, however, the wood caught. It sucked his right hand into the table saw. He severed his thumb. He nearly lost 3 of his fingers. In fact, he said his pinky was only hanging on by skin. Same with his ring finger. So when he showed up at that hospital that day in Wichita, Kansas, with his hand wrapped in a bloody towel, of course he had to take some time to make sure the lady at the desk had his insurance information. And then when they got him back and repaired him, they prepared in addition for reconstructive surgery. Now, his doctor at the time had played some American Legion ball, and he had an idea. So with his wife 8 months pregnant, she went out to the truck, found a baseball, came back in, and he said, I want to see your grip and how you hold a baseball with your left hand. That will give me a better idea how we want to reattach the fingers on your right hand. The fact that he's been able to get back and play and have a successful major league career and professional career is amazing.
You bet.
What a story. And what a sharp doctor who just happened to have a baseball in his car, probably hoping somebody would come along and offer him a tryout. Would save this guy's career.
Christian Yelich behind 0-2 after Hill singled off Janish's glove to start the ninth. Low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Strike 3 called inside corner. Yelich is struck out for the 2nd time in the game. 1 on, 1 out. All year long, Braves baseball on Fox Sports South is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. It's going to end the night for Scott Downs. He faces 2 hitters, allows a hit, and strikes out Yelich. And now some more work for the Atlanta bullpen. Luis Ayala is going to stride in. It's 5-0 Atlanta with 1 away in the ninth.
Live presented by AT&T. We'll talk to Brian McCann right after the game. We'll have Freddie Gonzalez's press conference. And we'll catch up with Brandon Beachy after 8 shutout innings. Beachy nearly matched that May 17th complete game he had against the Marlins last year. Chip?
Thank you, Tom. Always fun to talk about Braves win. And they're 2 outs away from seeing that happen as Luis Ayala had a chance to tune up a bit. Jake Marisnik is the Miami hitter.
Luis did not pitch in the Washington series either. Pitched on the same night as Down, so he needed the work. Braves have only faced 2 men over the minimum, thanks to a couple of double plays.
Make it 3 if Simmons and Uggla can turn it. They do, and the Braves streak is at 14. It's 14 with a flourish, to be honest. Atlanta with 4 runs in the first inning, including a couple of homers. McCann added a 3rd inning solo shot as well. Brandon Beachy with 8 innings of 3 hits, shutout ball. And the Braves, Joe, continued to dominate the Miami Marlins.
Combination shutout, the 10th of the year for Braves pitchers.